Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, we're back out to the start of another work week here at Giga-Texas. As always, there is a lot of construction going on. Of course, production is just getting underway after the weekend, so not seeing a whole lot of activity over at the Outbound lot quite yet, but I do see production of Model Ys picking up. Of course, the rest of the Outbound lot looks pretty empty, including Cybercabs at this beginning of the work week and after the weekend of transportation off-site. So really, it's a little bit too early to really tell for sure. When I arrived, I saw over at the test track that Cybercabs were doing night testing. They had their lights on, and I could see that from the highway. Unfortunately, by the time I got the drone over there, it got just a little bit too light. The sun came up, and it kind of affected my attempt to get some night driving there, so I'll try to do that in the future. But anyway, it was pretty neat to see that they are doing at least dark training for the Cybercabs on the test track, and they were doing laps around the big oval. They were doing some stop and go, kind of almost simulating traffic as well, and just a large group of Cybercabs going around the test track right around sunrise. Now, a couple of things that I do want to talk about briefly here on the intro. One of them has to do with Cybertruck and production. And this is just an observation of my own, something that I've noticed kind of this year. And that is, first of all, in February, they had that 59,000 Cybertruck all-wheel drive that was for sale for 10 days, and it seemed like the demand was quite strong. In fact, people that put orders in were seeing that their available delivery dates were going to be well into 2027, April and beyond. And it looked like there was quite a bit of demand. In fact, I'd been hearing here that there was a big amount of demand for those Cybertrucks. Also, Tesla said that around June we would start seeing initial deliveries of those $59,000 all-wheel drive Cybertrucks to customers. And a little bit has been happening, and I know that people have been taking delivery of their Cybertrucks, but it hasn't been anywhere near the large numbers that I was kind of expecting to see. I haven't seen large groupings of Cybertrucks over in the Outbound lot. I've seen some, but not really as many as I was expecting. Of course, we also know that last week a bunch of people, including myself, reported on a dispute that Tesla has with Angstrom Automotive with some tooling and parts for the Cybertruck, and that appears to be still in litigation, and it was reported as this is going to be something that could very well affect the production of the Cybertrucks. So we haven't seen a whole lot, and this could make it even less potentially. Now, what's really confusing is that several people are now getting delivery notifications for those Cybertrucks that they ordered back in February, but they were told would not be available until well into 2027. In fact, many people are getting delivery notifications 9 months or more earlier than they expected. So what is the big deal with that? Well, I don't know if they are just sort of haphazardly going through the list and just picking people at random rather than going by when you place the order. I guess that's possible, but it also brings up memories of the original orders with those reported of 1 million people putting in requests for the Cybertruck, only to find out that a small fraction of those actually materialized into sales. So I don't know if this is what we're seeing now, or if it's a combination of other factors, but it is something to watch. It is something to note, and it'll be something that I will keep watching here at Giga-Texas, and hopefully we'll find some more information. Maybe Tesla itself will let us know what is going on. The last thing, just real quick, tomorrow SpaceX is having its first financial results meeting as a public company. Herbert Ong from the Brighter with Herbert channel has asked me to be on, and we'll be doing the pre-financial results meeting and post-financial results meetings, thoughts and observations. So I'll try my best, and this will be the first time that I've done something like this, so hopefully knowledge of what's going on with SpaceX will help out with looking at SpaceX as a company and as a public company with investors now. So all that remains is to get the drone in the air, fly around, see what's going on here at Giga-Texas. As always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Let's go flying.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning from a beautiful sunrise over the main factory. We're going to start off here at the test track, where even early in the morning, Cybercabs are driving around on the track. We see a lot of cones that kind of sort them into these lanes on the left-hand side of the screen, and many different groupings of the Cybercabs. I really like this shot here with the sun coming right over the south end of Giga-Texas and kind of illuminating these Cybercabs in the kind of the golden light, which seems very fitting. Now, I arrived and it was just before the sun came up, and I could see that they were driving over here with all of their lights on. So obviously they're doing nighttime training in addition to doing the drives during the day. So maybe I will try to get here a little bit earlier on my next flight or a future flight, and we'll see if they are doing some nighttime testing at that time for the Cybercabs. But this gives you an idea what it's like. Some of them are stopping in the middle of the road. Others are continuing around. They proceed over to different sections where they will do different kinds of things. Here's a stop. Sometimes they'll go into those lanes with all of the cones, and then sometimes they'll do acceleration like we just saw there and continuing around the oval track. So I'm not sure exactly what testing they are doing, but it seems to now be using all parts of the track, which is in kind of including higher speed drives, almost like traffic scenarios, then of course doing the roads with the uneven surfaces. And a good shot of the operations center here in the center bottom of the screen. So I'll give you a view of the sunrise as we maneuver here on the west side, proceed over towards the outbound lot, and we'll see what's going on over there today. This is following a weekend where much of the vehicles were transported off-site. You can tell that there's just not a lot of vehicles here. There is a couple of groups of Model Ys, but we don't see very many Cybertrucks. We don't see very many Cybercabs, with just a couple of groupings. This one here, where there's about maybe 15. There's some more over by the west side of the end of line at kind of the top left, right center of the screen. We'll go take a look at that. I'll fly up over the wash rack with that new awning and show you what this looks like. But there's about 6 here. There was a couple of them driving around when I first flew by, and they went inside the end of line facility. You can see by the tents at the top center where they're getting ready for direct delivery, and the test track is being used here by some Model Ys as production is gearing up for the day. As I pull away, this is a look at what is being produced here. It's almost all Model Ys, as you can tell. Very little Cybertrucks. That kind of goes with the discussion that I had at the intro of the video, and something I will be continuing to watch here to see, will they have a lot more Cybertrucks out on the lot or not, and what does that mean for the deliveries and the demand for the Cybertruck. So it's really I don't know, maybe a work in progress right now, but we do see a lot of Cybercabs underneath the supercharger tents as we pass by. A few Cybertrucks here next to the side of the building, but I don't think those are new vehicles. And just a couple of the Model Ys in the sorting lot, and getting ready to go over, driving autonomously now around the cones to the north side of the factory. The Cybercab display by the direct delivery center has now been moved away, and the Megachargers look like they are complete. 4 posts, a couple of cabinets, and no semis yet, but hopefully we'll start seeing those. This gives at least an idea that there will be at least 4 semis, maybe more, working here in the near future, and I think that would be great to see. As we fly to the north, we'll fly over this staging yard with a lot of these materials, some of the racks for castings, and some of the containers here on the ground, some additional materials in that fenced off section. The clearing that has been underway for the most part by these workshops looks like it's completed with gravel around the top that wraps around over where we see some of the steel items have been relocated to some degree. And this continues over to where they are working on this kind of a rectangular graded section where we used to have the rental equipment lot and some of the transport trucks. And they continue to bring in dirt and fill in the grade in the other section, starting to become a very large rectangular site. And if they continue to bring in dirt, I think that they're going to try to level off the entire grade. It may be still a little bit subgrade to Tesla Road on the right-hand side of the screen, just because of all of the sand and gravel mining that was here, but they may be preparing this for a large construction site. And you never know, it might be a welcome center. Somewhere in this vicinity is where they intend to do it. It's just how many times have they changed it and what is the current plan? That is the big question. But here's a nice shot back to the main factory showing you where we're at. The size of this lot is continuing to grow, and that may continue to grow onto the right-hand side where the trees are. We'll have to see what they end up doing. There is some debris at the bottom of the screen that'll probably be mulched up, and we'll see if they continue with more of the tree debris removal here on this green section below the drone. So I'm going to get closer up to the factory, fly over this material staging yard, and we'll relocate onto the north side of the factory and resume the narration on that end. Over here, I'm going to cross over Tesla Road and take a look at all of the racks and castings that are on this north side. Pretty much everything that you see below the drone and directly ahead of the drone on the northeast corner of casting are all Cybertruck castings. Now I'll zoom in, and this will give you a good look at what it is like next to the melt center. On the left-hand upper corner, we see some Cybercab castings, but everything here in the field of view and all of these rack mounts, what's below the drone and coming into view off to the right, where we'll see some Cyber trucks getting ready to pull some of the rack mounts over to the factory for production. All of these are a Cyber truck. So they definitely have quite a bit of castings, a lot of Cyber trucks that could be built with all of this. And we'll see what they do now that we're at a starting of the work week. And hopefully we'll find out what's going on with the illegal issues with Angstrom Automotive, and also maybe find out what they're doing with production. And as we get to the 4680 section, not a lot. There was some work on the inside of that construction door, but otherwise not much to be seen on the outside at this time. They are doing recycling of the cans for the 4680s. We flew over that. I'm going to stay at this altitude, fly to the south near the flagpoles, and show you that Model Y production is already underway, even at this early hour, right around sunrise. A nice red Model Y coming out of the factory. And of course, these are all autonomously driven all the way around to that end-of-line facility. So I'm going to fly along this side. We'll watch this red car drive by itself all the way along this road. Every Model Y does this and ends up on that east side for transportation off of site. And this is becoming very familiar to anybody that's here at Giga-Texas watching those Model Ys. Here's the south end of the factory, that drive-through lane that you can tell going into the building that extends all the way over to the east side. It's allowing for some of the coils of steel to be delivered and also other materials in an easy way to drive right through the factory. On the south end, just a quick look at this terraced section with those 3 escape or emergency escape tunnels, and of course the cyber pond, which has reduced in its amount of water down to the normal fill rate, which is good to see. The horizontal drilling looks like it's completed. The horizontal drill itself is gone, and as we continue to maneuver this way, we'll look across the river and you can see where the operations are just on the other side of the river. Again, it looks like most of that big machinery and equipment has been moved away, so perhaps what they were doing here is now completed. You can also see that there is a lot of construction here with many more of these large pipe segments. This is just to the south side of the Colorado River. This is not necessarily Giga-Texas, but it could be tying into some of the water management systems that they have been building for the last couple of years. Those are all near this location. So I'm going to bring the drone up a little bit higher. We're looking from the south to the north across the main factory. We'll fly along the Colorado River, which is also reduced quite a bit in its volume of water now that Lake Travis has been kind of drained down to its 100% level, and all the rest of the flow has gone away. Giga-Texas did very well. We did not have any flooding to speak of here on the site, which is great work by the teams that have put in all of that underground water management system. Speaking of water management, this pond has had the liner removed, the underground or under the liner drain pipes have been removed, the equipment around the shoulders have been removed as well. And it looks like this is going to be probably filled in and then maybe repurposed at some point. So very interesting how this is changing. As we cross over this last kind of original pond, at this staging yard, we can tell a lot more equipment has been brought here. Much of it is production line equipment. Most of it is going into the east side of the factory in the areas that's considered body in white, and that's where we're seeing that new opening, possibly to allow us all of this to get inside. At the exit point for the Cybercabs, we do see a large number, probably close to 20 or so, just outside of the door. You can see the door with the stoplights. That is where the Cybercabs exit. And just behind those 2 silos is the end of line for the Cybercab production line. And this shows you what this looks like, at least from above the power lines today. Not much movement as far as vehicles exiting, but the fact that there's a bunch here is a good sign. They all look like they are newly produced. We'll fly along the power lines to the north. Just check on this temporary chiller system for the reaction and injection molding machines that are just inside the walls there, and that's what makes the body panels for the Cybercabs. We do see some additional material on the ground next to the median. Looks like a lot of that is just unpacked materials and crates. At the opening that we talked about before, I think this is what they're preparing to kind of have a new entry point to the factory, maybe a loading door as well. Of course, they're redoing the receiving doors and the apron, and some of that large equipment will probably go through that opening once they are ready. The lot below us is some of the employees getting free charging for their vehicles, and also next to the helicopter pad is where they have some overflow of vehicles, and there's really only one older Cybercab there today. This material staging yard shows more of the steel assembly work and pipes on the bottom right. And I also noticed that there was some work at the wind tunnel. I'll zoom in so you can see what this appears like. I did see on my previous video a Cybercab getting ready to be put onto that ramp and go through some sort of wind tunnel testing. Not sure what they were actually trying to figure out, but this is definitely an active wind tunnel. This new structure is getting some of its kind of wall material, possibly some of the roofing put in too. I don't know what it's for, but it is a kind of a newly put up structure. And obviously it's not complete. We'll hopefully get some idea what that's for a little bit later. There is some more trench work for conduit following along this roadway. I think it's called Autonomy Avenue, but I may be wrong on that, but it connects over to Robotic Avenue in that intersection. This clearing is where we saw that the materials are being brought in for most likely a concrete batch plant. And this is what it looks like today. No real changes, no setup yet. As we fly over the recycling yard, it still looks like this is here for a while. It may be not being moved because it's a little bit too far south of what the foundation for the Advanced Technology Chip Fab is starting to look like. But it'll be something I continue to monitor, as will I'll be monitoring the workshops at the bottom of the screen, which continue to fabricate pipes, although some of them look like they may be in the process of being removed. The large pond is still drying out. They got most of the perimeter walls in. They've got that outflow channel in the top left worked with some forms, probably some concrete. We'll continue to watch and see how that transforms. And as I mentioned, the workshops on the left-hand side of the screen, there's one of them that have been removed. So we may start seeing all of this beginning to be relocated to allow for more of the construction to continue. This is a nice view of that Advanced Technology Chip Fab foundation, how it looks right now. The biggest thing that is of notice is that it's very rectangular. We don't see those beveled edges that were very prominent on the render that SpaceX and Tesla provided in the announcement for this facility. So I don't know if that means that there's been a change or if this is going to be extended at some point. So something to watch for. A lot of rebar cages being built. Some of them are extremely large. We'll come back and get a closer view of that in a moment. There's also this excavation, kind of rectangular in the middle center of the screen next to River Road, and that pavilion with more materials on the bottom left of the screen. As I mentioned, we'll come back in and look at all of these rebar cages. Several different sizes. Some of them are rectangular, and the ones that they're working on right now are particularly enormous. Take a look at the workers compared to the size of these rebar cages, just as a pretty good idea of what to expect. That could be indicating that there's some pretty heavy loads that are expected here on the foundation. Speaking of which, the geopiers are at work putting in more piers into the ground that will be supporting the footings, which will be using those rebar squares or cages once they are ready for that. And as I say at this altitude, kind of look to the south across the entire site. It's a great kind of a updated view of what it looks like in this stage of development. Now I'm going to continue to fly to the north along the east side of the cathode building on the right, on top of the crash test facility, and kind of maneuver around here looking across this structure system, which is called the Central Support Campus. And quite a bit of a development has happened here over the last couple of years. The River Road on the bottom of the screen continues to be prepared to extend all the way around this part of the site through the trees and up into Lone Tree Field, as you can see in the upper right of the screen. There is more dirt being brought in and grade work underway in the center of the screen. And of course, looking up towards that north campus and the Optimus Factory, which we will be looking at a little bit more closely later in the video. I wanted to turn back and just show you some of the earthwork that is being done here. There does look like there's a channel being made at the bottom of the screen, possibly for drainage. Of course, more of the dirt's being brought in to level off the grade next to this staging yard, where we still see plenty of those mega packs that are being stored temporarily until they can be installed on the west side of Cortex 2, which is coming into view at the top of the screen. This is the new workshop that we talked about on my previous video. It looks like there's pipe fabrication going on, and that may be supporting this construction site, which is most likely going to be a water reclamation site. At the bottom of the screen is the screw type piers in the circular formation, most likely for tanks. And we do see a lot more of the work here using these green trench boxes to put in trenches and pipes. Of course, there's other sections here that have had gravel and or a mud base put in for work as they are putting in all of the pipes that you can see. The central workshop section seems to be busy and getting even busier. A lot more materials are being showing up and being stored here. And as we fly over the die shop, I wanted to look at what is going on with the temporary coolers next to the part one of the cooling system. We do see 4 of the fans that are in operation. At the bottom of the screen, some of the tool chests that have been brought outside from the Cortex 2. And of course, here is where the Megapack installations are going to be. The one on the right will be constructed to be like the one that was on the left that we just flew over. It looks like the beams have been put onto the screw type piers and some of the scaffolding along the walls. So that is getting close to being able to bring all of these Megapacks and the green transformers from this workshop and install them over on that new site. We might be seeing that at the end of this week coming up based on the speed that I see them working on right now. On the north end, they continue to do some trenching in this dirt section and laying in pipe. Looks like some of that, if not most of it, is being filled back in. So much of that pipe work for installation seems to be completed. We also see some work just inside that receiving door on the left-hand side of the screen and preparations for maybe a receiving dock being constructed as well. This west side is being finalized for all of those Megapacks, the transformers and electrical equipment to support the operation. We do see many of the beams being put onto the screw type piers at the bottom of the screen now, and at least half of the electrical systems have been installed other than the Megapacks. We do see at the bottom of the screen these kind of hoop structures. That's kind of a system for allowing some of the cables to extend between the Megapacks, and that is starting to be put in. And you can see one of those right next to the Megapacks here, and these 3 rounded top workshops. Much of the conduit on the ground has been completed and filled back in. And then in this section is where they're running more of the cable through those conduits. You can see those large spools next to the 4 workshops. And as I kind of pull away, I'll pan back up, a good view of this entire side of the site. And of course, the electrical switchyard on the left, not much change right now. So instead, I'm going to continue to pull back to the south over Tesla Road, take a look at the trailers, which are all in support of that Advanced Technology Chip Fab. Most of the work has been completed with the exception of the roadway, which you can see the lines around those trailers. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. We're going to look towards the north as we fly over the Central Support Campus, looking at that Optimus Factory and much of the earthwork. I'm going to take us on a kind of 180-degree trip around the most of the North Campus at a higher altitude so you can see what it all looks like, and we'll resume the narration on the north end of the Optimus Factory. Had some viewers ask if it's possible there will be a road that will kind of go along this staging yard through the trees over to the north part of the Optimus factory. The answer is yes. It's Harold Green Road. There's been a number of permits. Some of them have been changing, but ultimately the plan is to make Harold Green Road come through this section, and the address for the robotics factory is actually 1 Harold Green Road. So at the bottom of the screen, somewhere through the grass field, we may see that construction sometime in the near future. just to the north of the silt fence that we are flying over. As I bring the drone down, this is a great view across the site back to the main factory and much of what we've already visited. Some of the things to call out: one, the perimeter grade beam on the north is coming along pretty well. Most of the form work is there. They poured a lot of the concrete. And once this is all completed, then they can start erecting some of the steel all the way up to this part, which is uh, the highest or the farthest north part of the factory itself. Lots of steel still to be erected, and much of it's being stored here. And you can tell that it's almost reached the perimeter grade beam, which is a great indication of how quickly they are moving. There is even more cranes. I think there's now 8 large cranes and a few smaller cranes to help with the steel assembly. We see more of it being delivered at the bottom of the screen with these trucks, and a nice view of the entire site, at least the steel structure. It is now 20 column widths in length from north to south. I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude and kind of give you a bird's eye view down on the roof and the decking that's being installed. But with that, and assuming about a 40 to 45 foot column spacing, we're around 700 feet, or about 200 and maybe 20 meters in length already. And this is only going to continue to grow to the north and to the south. And while we are here, kind of show you what this north end looks like, how close to the perimeter grade beam they are. Looks like maybe about 12 to 15 column widths to go. And they're also leaving this kind of alleyway between the eastern perimeter grade beam and the steel structure so they can move equipment, trucks, and cranes pretty easily. So that will be the last part of the building completed once they get the length of it to the perimeter grade beam. We see a lot more steel on top of the footing field at the bottom. At the center of the screen, at the bottom of the screen, we see the pedestal type footings, which are actually gigantic. And if you see the workers next to them, gives us a really good sense of scale. More rebar cages being built. And for the first time, we're starting to see what may be the southern extent of the foundation itself. Beveled corners are starting to emerge on the right-hand side of the screen. And as I sweep across this south end, you can see the beginnings of what may be the beveled edge here on the bottom center of the screen. Great view across the site back to the main structure. The bottom of the screen, you can see kind of a terracing effect where the trucks are, and that brings us to a lower level and then another beveled edge by the pond. So that may actually indicate, and what we're seeing here in the middle of the screen, the full length of the factory. If that's the case, then I'll try to get a kind of a measurement of what that really is, and then we'll have a good idea of how large the facility will be. Assuming that it's 4 floors contiguously across the bulk of the site, it's going to be a pretty substantial building once it is completed. Of course, more of the earthwork at the bottom of the screen and tree debris that needs to be cleaned away. And they're kind of like widening the overall site to the west. As I come back here, this is a good view of those pedestal footings at the bottom of the screen. Some of the kind of bridge bars that they've got constructed with forms, and some of them in concrete. And if you look at some of the workers as they walk by the pedestal piers or footings, it gives you an idea of just how large they are. And more of the footings are being excavated here on the south end with the rebar cages. And this gives us an idea that the footings are rapidly approaching what could be the perimeter grade beam at the end of the building, which is where the gravel is starting to kind of have that beveled edge where the 2 white trucks are. As I pull away, you can see that there's a lot more earthwork on the left, some more gravel at the bottom, and that dirt section in the center has been raised up, and they've reclaimed part of that tree belt where the sand and gravel mining operation used to be. Here's what the workshops look like here today. Looks like they're doing some fabrication of steel already. The slab with the steel structure is still waiting for its occupants, and we're waiting for 2 more of the roofs being put onto those rounded top workshops. This is what the south end looks like right now, and it does look like they are going to continue to reclaim that soil on the bottom left. We'll see how that happens and what it will be once they are completed, with a good view of the Optimus Factory on the upper right. As I turn back to the main site, we'll stay up at this altitude, kind of look across much of the area that we've already visited here on the east side. A great kind of a bird's eye view of what the Advanced Technology Chip Fab looks like, and River Road being extended at the bottom left. I hope that you enjoyed everything we were able to see today. Thank you for your support, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.